A very good afternoon to you.
Thank you.
You've just held a news conference, and we're going to go through some of the big headlines from that news conference. First of all, let's start with increased prize money. So, where's this money coming from?
Well, mainly from BBC. Thank you very much. Sponsors.
It's our great pleasure.
We take money from anyone. The event's been a huge success commercially, especially in China and globally. So it seemed right that we should change the prize money again. You know, we went up to £425,000 first prize this year.
Yep.
Next year's £500,000. We're going to keep going because it's there. And if we want to send a message out that this game is in a good shape to sponsors and television companies, and to, most importantly, young players we want them to pick up the game, we've got to show them the rewards, and we're on the way.
OK, and more events?
There's always going to be more events because I like people to work. You know, there's 52 weeks in the year. I don't know why we don't have 52 tournaments, but we're going to be about 30 this year, which was 8 years ago we had 5. We've now got 30. 8 years ago we was paying for £3.5 million. We're on the way to £20 million prize funds. We're up to about 15. Well, we're going to go past 15 this year. We can get 20 quite quickly, but we're still a long way behind the tennises and the golf. So before everyone gets carried away and say it's a licence to print money, we're catching up for lost time. We're making progress, but there's plenty of work and lots of focus needed to get to the promised land.
And these new events then, Barry, are they going to be based in the UK or are these overseas?
Well, we're looking at, certainly, ITV are going to expand their, what I call the FedEx Cup type of World Grand Prix, 32 players, 16 players in the Players' Championships. We're going to go to the Tour Champs with 8. And those matches will be played over 17, 19 and 25 frames. Throwback for the top 8 players because they're the creme de la creme. But also, we're talking about, I still want 1 or 2 more big ranking events. And we're talking in the Middle East particularly. We've got a lot in China. We could do loads more in China. But I think probably we're getting to the stage of supply and demand's about balanced. Middle East next for me. And I think we can do something really spectacular as one match.
Anywhere in particular? Who are you talking to?
Well, anyone who's got the most amount of money, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, I'm not in this business to mess about. I'm 70 years old coming up now. I really haven't got the time. So I just tell people the truth. Do you want to be massive? Do you want to have this brilliant sport, entertaining your local population, inspiring your young people and putting your name on television around the world? If you do, we're your man. But it doesn't come cheaply because I've got the best in the world and they have to be paid. So we're getting quite direct now because we're trying to cut corners.
Barry, just a quick question then. You mentioned tennis, you mentioned golf. If you love your sport and you're tuning into the TV stations, you'll see there's always a golf tournament on, there's always a tennis tournament, and in cricket as well. Is there not a danger of saturation?
Always a danger of saturation, but there's always a danger of starvation as well. So it's a question of balance, isn't it? I mean, what we say to the top players is, look, the same as the golf circuit, you don't have to, nor do I even expect you to play in every event. But if you're a youngster, the kids that I'm aiming for, the ones that pick up a cue with a dream, they've got to have opportunity. They'd play every day, every hour, every week. When you get to the levels that these guys made, of course they're going to pick and choose, and why shouldn't they? I would as well. So we mustn't just... We're only limited by our own ambition, our own imagination. Let's create the circuit, let's give everyone the choice. The cream will rise to the top. It's an open field. The top 16 players in the world that are here at our Blue Ribbon event, they are the top 16 on merit. They've come through an open system. Everyone's had equal opportunity. That's when you know you've arrived. Now it's our job then to take the whole perception of the sport to another level. And when we do that, then you'll see where we can go, because I believe this game has only just started.
And Barry, you've always maintained that sports needs to be entertainment.
Yeah.
So punters pay their money, they need value for money, they need to be entertained. Interestingly, in that news conference, you've also been talking about slow play.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to start naming and shaming, finding players?
Yeah, I mean, we have to. It's not a lot of players. This year we brought in an average shot time and we've been analysing it, and there's a handful of players that are either...
Same names?
Yeah.
Propping up?
Yeah, they're either thinking slow, they've got used to being slow, or they're using it as gamesmanship, and I don't know what it is. So the easiest way for me is, now we've got the information, we're going to give them 12 months. I think 30 seconds on average throughout a tournament, throughout a season. Anything more than 30 seconds starts to get a bit dull, a bit boring. Some frames will take hours. Well, that's because the balls go awkward. But over a season, it levels it out. So every three months, we're going to print the names up of those people that are more than 30 seconds.
Where you printed them?
On our website. We're going to name and shame them. Yeah. And basically, we're going to say to them, get your act together because you're getting very boring. And I don't do boring.
You're going to put them in the stocks in the town centre and you can
absolutely.
throw rotten veg
But what we're saying to them is, we don't want to be heavy-handed with fines and all this sort of stuff. For a year, get your act together, realise we're in the entertainment business. In 12 months' time, if you've not got your act together, then it's going to be warning, then it's going to be yellow card, then it's going to be financial, because I can't have these people dragging the game down. I watched a couple of games here, well, in the qualifying rounds. I know there's a lot of pressure on these boys, but 42 seconds average, mate, that's a turn-off for me. And it's a turn-off for today's younger market.
Thoughts, John?
Well, it's interesting, definitely. Just a matter of whether the player's going to have to cope, isn't he? He's going to have to change his attitude towards it.
Will the onus go on the referees, or
No. It'll be the end. No, there'll be no stopping the games. Right. At the end of a game, no stop clocks. But at the end of, if you do it more than once in a tournament,
right,
you won't do it the first time. More than once, you'll get a warning. The second
who's running the clock, though, Barry?
No, we have all the data's already here.
So you'll monitor the data at the end of a game?
Yes, at the end of the game, the turn around and say, you took over 30 seconds. Throughout this match, your average shot time was over 30 seconds. Warning. You do it again, yellow card. You do it a third time, financial penalty.
Will it take into consideration the difficulty of the shot, or will it just be a blanket?
It'll be a blanket, because you can always make excuses, as you know. But what we will do is, over the duration, as you know, because you're a great excuse maker. But that's why you retired at the top, Stephen. No, over the game, it will average itself out. Okay. I mean, obviously, we've got to be... But I'm really hoping that the players themselves say, actually, I've got to look at myself, just speed up a little bit, because it does get boring. And some of it is gamesmanship, which I don't like.
Yep.
You know, if someone's a youngster and they're a bit nervous, and an older head, for example, says, I'll tell you what we'll do here, we'll slow this bloke down. We'll slow it down so badly, he won't know his own name. That I don't like, because that borders on cheating.
Yeah. Right, Barry, stay with us, because a few more questions for you. What we'll do is we'll go to Seema Jaswal, who is in the media room, to get some reaction.
Thank you very much, Jason. And exactly on the topic you've just been talking about, the subject of slow play, we have had a huge reaction on social media. So we have one player on board. I know you just mentioned the players and how they would feel. Well, Joe Perry tweeted straight away, actually, after the press conference and said, about time too. Hashtag excuse the pun. I like that, Joe. But literally, most of the fans disagree and don't like the idea of it. So Benson has said, snooker is always great drama, and it's great drama specifically during a safety exchange when a player can't decide on a choice of shots. Dylan said you can't change the structure of the game, though certain shots will always need more consideration than others. Daniel said they're slow because they're thinking of the next shot. It's great the way it is. Please don't change it. Carrier said, what's next? Trick shots between frames? There'll always be slower and faster players. Neville asks a good question. He said, what happens when a player is in a difficult situation? Wouldn't not having thinking time ruin the sport ultimately? Bert has said entertainment is not a question of speed, but then it's all about business for Daniel. Barry might like this one. He said without entertainment there is no commercial value. That means there is no money, and that means there is no snooker at all. So that's what they think about that. And then in response to the increase in prize money, the fans are absolutely thrilled to hear this news. Lee said it's the best news I've heard in a long time. Jones has said, Barry, you're taking the game to the next level. And Liam has asked, will ticket prices increase? So I'll throw that over to you.
Oh, that's a really good question. Seema, thank you very much indeed. So increased ticket prices.
Yeah, there's always going to be slight increases, but actually we're taking a different approach. Our problem is... And it's restricted to the World Championships. This is our blue ribbon event. Problem is we haven't got enough seats. And the problem is we've got things called a secondary market. The only way to kill the secondary market is to push the prices up, because then there wouldn't be a secondary market, but that defeats the object of appealing to the fans. So this year, we're going a third of the tickets by personal callers only, restricted to 4. We've thrown out all the old season ticket holders, the people who have been in for years and years. We've made it fair. We've made it just open, irrespective. It doesn't matter who you are. Try to look after the people of Sheffield, because this is in Sheffield, and then it goes online sales. More importantly, we're going to set up a little unit that's going to monitor secondary sites. Every time we see a World Snooker ticket on a secondary site where we can identify the seat number, we're cancelling the ticket. So we're going to try and destroy the secondary market. Ticket prices can be kept under control, but I have to just put this warning in. We're very cheap. We're very cheap.
Compared to other sports?
Oh, man, we are nothing. But I don't want to lose our touch with the common man. But the thing is, we've got to live in the real world. That's all I'm saying.
Can I just ask you, just before you go, and I know that many of the back pages and many of the radio and TV stations are talking about what happened between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Ali Carter. Many people will say, oh, why are you bringing this up now? But you are the main man.
It's great.
But, you know, Ali talked... He wasn't very happy in his post-match interview before they started and was using language like, bring it on, let's have it. You don't normally associate that with snooker players. And then there's the barge. What was your view of it?
Well, I was so proud of 2 snooker players.
Right, OK.
simply because if they'd have been Premiership footballers, one of them would have fallen over and tried to get the other bloke sent off. You know, snooker players are proper, tough, good blokes. That match was played with an intensity, with a rivalry that you could smell it in the crowd. People were on the edge of their seats wondering what was going to happen. I'm not saying it was good, and I think the referee, Paul Collier, did a brilliant job to make sure it didn't get out of control. What happened was absolutely nothing. But as I say, in Premiership football, it'd have been a sending off. But these guys, they were so committed to winning. And I just thought it was real sport. It was
Are you comfortable with the barge, though? I mean, there was a little bit of an incident there.
Yeah, listen, if I'm not comfortable with that, go have a barge from Anthony Joshua, I'd be uncomfortable. Have a barge from one of those. It's not really a barge, was it? It's more of a glance. I mean, you're a Scouser. Would you call that a barge? Would you call that a barge in Liverpool?
No.
No, of course you wouldn't. We're proper geezers, mate. We don't worry about little things like that. Only the do-gooders do. But it showed the intensity of what they're playing for, and that was, to me, more important than anything else. I don't want to get it carried away. I just don't think it was much of an incident. But I was just pleased to see the passion on both sides. Good luck to them. And they behaved themselves very well afterwards. No problems with me on that at all.
Let me just ask Stephen and John, what's your view of what happened in the arena? It is snooker, after all.
Yeah, but I was commentating, and it was that the atmosphere did get a bit uneasy for a few seconds. But as Barry said, the referee dealt with it very well, and it just showed the match had an edge to it, and I think that was good.
Yeah, but when it was finished, I mean, you saw the pat, didn't you? Even when he patted him on the stomach, wished him all the best. Off he went, Ronnie, and he was very gracious in defeat. And listen, it's a big, big prize they're playing for. It's the biggest they're going to play for ever in their career. Particularly Ali Carter, been here 4 times, never beaten Ronnie before. If you can't be a bit emotional after that, you never will be.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Barry, always good to see you. It's always,
Pleasure.
shall I say, entertaining.
Thanks. Always good to
see
be
you.
here.
Thank
mate.
you very
Thank
much
you.
indeed.